All right, well,
You didn't
today's...
even notice my new glasses.
No, actually, so, all right, that's not fair. Because what I was going to say, and I was late. And no,
I just saw
was
my
late.
reflection.
I saw the glasses and I was like, man, those glasses look good. And I'm like, she looks incredibly sophisticated. And I look like I just woke up and put on a shirt. Like, that's the day I'm having today. Like, we couldn't be more misaligned. She looks amazing. So no, those glasses are awesome. They're great. They look wonderful. And,
sorry, I'm easily distracted. Squirrel.
Buckle up. You've just hit the play button on The Notice, a podcast from Otava with hosts TJ Howsky and Melissa Locke. Expect to laugh, nod vigorously, and maybe even fist pump as we dive deep into the tech that powers your business, leadership that uplifts, and how culture can make your company the kind of place where everyone wants to clock in. So if you're ready for insights that stick and laughs that last, you've got a seat at our table. Welcome to The Notice, where tech gets personal and growth is a group project. Let's get started.
all right, Mo, we did it. We did it. Last episode of the season.
Yes. Wow. 24 total episodes.
24 episodes. Just think, 23 episodes ago, you were like, I am going to kill you for making me do a podcast.
Yes. And I think I threw up afterwards. Yeah.
So good. I can't believe it, though. 24, 2 full seasons with some great learnings, some awesome interviews, some wisdom nuggets. It's been fun. I'm looking forward to next season and just how this is developing. So, yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
I have learned to enjoy it. It's just one of those things where the more you do it, the more you get comfortable. I think that's just like any new thing that you try. At first, it's uncomfortable and you're not quite feeling great and natural at it, but figured it out. We made it work.
That's right. Virtuosity, right? Do the uncommon commonly well. Let's see. So summer recap. We've had a pretty busy summer as a company. It's kind of 1 year ago over the summer, we launched our On the Road campaign. So we spent most of that summer as a collective executive team on the road, visiting with customers, launching our initial programs. Here we are 1 year later, and now we're reacting to those initial assumptions, those customer meetings. And I think overall, I would measure the year over year as a success, both quantitatively, right, in terms of growth and retention and those kinds of things. But I don't know, qualitatively too, just relationships and the feedback, engagement we're getting from our customers. That's my perspective. But how about you? How do you feel when you look at it from that perspective?
No, I think it's been a great year. I think not only through, you could call that On the Road Again campaign a way of networking. And we're talking about networking today. So I kind of feel like that was a good tie. I don't know if you did that on purpose or not, but
I'll take credit for it.
Good job, TJ. That was very intuitive about that. So that was a great opportunity to have those no sales calls and really get in front of our customers and learn their dog's name and what kind of ice cream they like, the important stuff. And now we're seeing, those developments kind of flourish into greater relationships and allowing us to provide the solutions that work best for their businesses. So yeah, I think it was a great kickoff to all of this.
Yeah. No, that's spot on. I think the other thing I've really enjoyed too is that, one of our pillars was to engage differently, more purposefully, in the markets that we serve. And we've seen a huge step change in even the way in which we're hosting events and what are we focused on. And one of them, we just recently hosted the Brickyard 400 here in Indianapolis. That was cool. So as a thank you and a shout out to one of our partners in Entrago, we were able to have a suite that we hosted for the 400 for really 3 days. It was a a Friday, Saturday, and a Sunday leading up to the actual race day. We were able to celebrate with customers, technology vendors, family members. We were able to do that, give back to the employees on that Sunday. And so I thought that was a really cool way to kind of cap off the summer.
That was my first NASCAR experience. And so I don't know if I can watch NASCAR without the suite. I don't know. That was kind of like a bad way probably to introduce me to racing.
Lord knows you prefer air conditioning, so
yes,
we may have ruined you and Tyler forever. He may say, "Dang it, TJ." So there's worse ways. He was like bougie NASCAR fan. That's okay.
That's right.
Don't worry about That's great. Well, so who do we have today from TechPoint? Mo, you did an awesome
Yeah.
interview. Why don't you walk us through that?
Yeah. We spoke to Ting Gootee from TechPoint, and she really shared with us. She's the CEO of TechPoint, and shared with us kind of what they do for Indiana, what they do for technology in Indiana, their enablement program, talent development strategies. They have a lot of great initiatives that the information was shared about, and they have a great website if people want to learn more about them, and there's ways to get involved in their initiatives. They have a lot of community events that folks can be a part of. So yeah, it was a great conversation. We learned a lot.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think I love, again, just engaging purposefully, leveraging our partnerships. Otava is both a member of TechPoint, and then I participate as a board member with TechPoint, and it's been a really blessed relationship. It's also a really great opportunity to get different perspective across multiple segments about how technology is impacting both positive and negative, the struggles that people are having with it in the markets. And I think it informs, the way in which we're aligning products to market growth. That's one of our pillars in our investments here at Otava. So overall, it's great. But Ting's awesome. I know people are going to be blessed by the interview, and you did a fantastic job. So that's going to be great. All right. Well, we are to one of our favorite parts or segments, as we say, of the podcast, which is spending time with other thought leaders. And I couldn't be more excited to introduce everybody to Ting Gootee, the CEO, President and CEO of TechPoint. So thank you, Ting, for being here with us today. We appreciate you.
Thank you, TJ, for having me on the show. Thrilled to be here.
It's awesome. Well, we're excited to spend some time and get to know TechPoint more and see the value that you have. I think more important is the vision. And that has one thing I've been very excited about being a member of the board is to sit in and listen to your consistent message around a very big vision about impacting the lives of a lot of people in a positive way, centered on technology and innovation. And it's a lot of fun. So with that, I know Mo is got some questions and excited to kind of steer us through this conversation. So I'll let her take the wheel and drive.
Yeah. Well, first, congrats on being named to the 2024 Indiana 250 honorees. What an accomplishment. It's awesome. Congrats.
Thank you.
But
It's been such an honor. I actually joined this role about 2 years ago, so it's been a pleasant journey so far, and super thrilled with both in the team and how the community is supportive. Particularly coming out of pandemic, it was a good timing to take the vision to the next level and really figure out expanded ways to engage with the community, and that's what we have done effectively.
yeah, that leads right into my first question, really. Like, let's start with the basics. What is TechPoint and what is the primary mission?
Yeah, absolutely. So TechPoint is a part of the Central Indiana Corporate Partnership. We're thrilled to be one of the 5 brand initiatives that the specific focus on BN's economic development strategies for the state of Indiana. TechPoint has this very deep origin within the tech, in particular tech entrepreneurship community. It really dates back to almost 2 decades ago when Indiana and Indianapolis in particular has started to have a burgeoning tech entrepreneurial community, and 2 specific organizations come together that form TechPoint that ended up being a part of the Central Indiana Corporate Partnership back in 2006. So fast forward today, our current vision was the rapid adoption and proliferation of technology, not within just your traditional tech services and product companies, but really across the entire economy. Our vision for our community really is twofold. One is to make tech a transformative and competitive edge for every company, everyone, every community in Indiana. And 2, through that particular pillar, and really transform Indiana from an emerging tech hub into a digital leader in tech innovation. So that's a long-term vision. So we kind of transcending between just a typical tech startups, even infrastructure, tech products and services company, really kind of working closely with public, private, and industry partners to drive a holistic strategy around talent, innovation, and community.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome, the way you support and kind of promote this whole ecosystem. Can you highlight some of the key programs and initiatives?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're very fortunate, Indiana in particular. In a lot of states, we have my personal background. I mean, prior to TechPoint, I've been spent about 13 years, 16 years total, all in the alternative investments space. The most recent 13 has been primarily trying to lead Indiana's venture development efforts through a lot of direct venture investing activities. So I had a little bit front row seat in terms of watching the particular role a state or public sector can play in stimulating more industry and private sector activity, primarily around the capital attraction and side, and supporting entrepreneurship. What TechPoint and CICP and Central Union Corporate Partnership have done probably more differently in that it's really the industry-led strategy where we're very fortunate both as a community as a state to have not only strong industry involvement, which is reflective of you all sitting here, why you're interested in this topic.
Right.
And we, in our membership base, we have 100 plus members. Most of them are from industry, from big coast to startups, to investors who are interested in what we're doing, as well as a public academic sector partners. We have a dozen different universities that are involved in our various initiatives around talent in particular, and public sector funders and philanthropic funders who are willing to support the work we do and recognizing the industry are not only buy into our vision and strategy, but investing dollars with us so that strategy alignment around public, private, and academic sector, not only that, but through the direct involvement in programming and stakeholder alignment, it's really kind of differentiator for us. So this is not this is a very much a cross sector initiative. When we do talent work, for instance, it's not about competing with private sector, but more around what are the market gaps there are, the specific opportunities the private sector may not be able to fill on its own. And then some of the stuff we're in a unique position to really leveraging our network and our program operation ability to deliver the solutions. So talent strategy is very much a focus around aligning the skill set, tech skill set requirement needs around the employers and education providers. When we say education provider, it's really kind of broadest sense. It could be anywhere between K-12 all the way to higher ed to coding academy, really everybody along the continuum to say, what is it really about? What is it a tech career look like from an employer perspective? What is skill sets? And translating all the way to the education providers. And then a layer below that is the talent supply side. We do a lot of work around trying to reach into the population base and get those kids, students, as early as K-12, exposure to what it means to have a career in tech. A lot of it's really kind of expanding the understanding, right? When we think about tech, the traditional perception is very much a CS degree, and then you go work for Google's and Salesforce, maybe Ottawa if you do a really good job advertising yourself as a brand developer. But that's we wanted for folks to say, look, they are very specific, much more than you can do project management, you can do digital marketing, you can do data analytics, and in the likes of Ottawa, Eli Lilly, or Cummins. These are the pathways, and then you can it's much a lot more expansive than the traditional Salesforce AWS setting. And the level below that becomes how do you connect those kids who are learners into with the right work-based learning opportunity to get them more industry exposure. So we do quite a bit of work around that. And then on the crossing, so that's on the more the talent supply side. And then on the innovation side becomes really kind of driving more opportunities. We really view innovation in the traditional sense of innovation. People tend to think about startups, and that's usually who they get the headlines.
Yeah.
I'm the one having been in the transactional side for well over a decade. I remember telling to both myself and the community stakeholders, if 10 years from now we're still doing the headlines around a startup company raising $2 million, there's something not quite right with our community. So the innovation, our sense of innovation, it's very broad. I mean, there's innovative activities happening across midcos and bigcos and startup setting, and we wanna really trying to drive that peer network knowledge transfer and support all the innovators, trying to support as much as we can to make them successful, because if they're successful, they're making their company or nation successful. So that's really the mission, and we're able to really to leveraging our expertise to provide both in terms of expertise but strong industry connectivity to make that happen. And last but not least, we do a lot of storytelling. That's where the community piece coming on. I'm so grateful you're doing this, because just we're not just about telling TechPoint stories. More important, our jobs to tell your story through you, to tell our Indiana story. So we were really able to get very effectively, as part of the reason I was attracted to this particular platform, because of a strong marketing and community platform we had built over the last decade or so, and really looking forward to continue build upon the brand strategy and elevate it for everybody.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a lot of programs and initiatives. So tell us a little bit about the impact. Maybe this is a time to kind of brag on some of the work you guys have done. That you could talk a little bit about the impact that TechPoint has had on the tech community in Indiana.
Yeah, the impact and everything we do is really built upon the network that we were able to leverage and activate. On the CICP side, that's sort of our umbrella activity, and really that particular network, even from a board membership perspective, engages all the major Fortune 500 major corporate CEOs and leadership. That's where and also the three major philanthropic foundations, including the Lilly Endowment, which, by the way, with the Lilly stock just rising again yesterday, it's second largest endowment in the country. So we're really fortunate to have that right in our backyard to really go with us hand in hand, supporting some of the work that we're doing from an economic development perspective. And then the sub umbrella from TechPoint side, like I mentioned, our membership is about 100 members strong, ranging from startup founders to the C-suites and leading technology transformational activities within the midcos and bigcos, including you all, and also includes a dozen different universities, and now also include about a dozen different community partners who we're working with on a very close basis. So that's a base. On top of that, on a programmatic side, we support about 200 startups average a year, and we have about over 100 founders now in our founders network, and there's the peer network that really led by themselves. They have an advisory council, are really thrilled about the work they're doing and helping one another and getting to be, again, the goal is try to help these entrepreneurs and founders be as successful as they can. And then next level up is the CIO network. We have about 300 plus C-suites. That's besides our membership base. That's in our network. That's really, again, providing that peer network connectivity that's important in terms of the knowledge sharing and the best practices. On the talent side, we do touch about, quite a few thousand high school and college students a year from a
cool.
education and awareness and reach perspective. And a few hundred actually go through our work-based learning opportunities, including full internship during the summer every year, so that kind of a work, and we engage about 100 plus different employers around the state on an annual basis, and really to give these folks the opportunity to both tell us what they need from a project forward looking perspective, but more importantly, give us the feedback and participate in terms of the talent retention activities.
Yeah, I love how you reach down to the very beginning, get them in there when they're in high school and snatch them up and give them opportunities to learn about technology.
Yeah.
What are some of your biggest challenges what are some of the challenges facing TechPoint or challenges really just facing the tech industry?
Yeah, great question. So, actually, I'm curious about what your answer to that from Chris. You're deep into the tech, and TJ, we'll ask you go first. You have a very broad set of views.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, the rate of innovation has reached a place that the operational tempo, so the ability to innovate, adopt, which requires training and enablement, they're spread apart much further than they were before. So you
Yeah.
used to keep more of a linear relationship between new innovation, market release, and then scale. Now you're in a situation where it's almost zigzag, and sometimes the technology is live into the market, seeing it before they really understand the impacts of it. Bad, right? So we'll use the easiest one right now is obviously generative AI. And folks are spending a tremendous amount of time, more narrowly speaking, about OpenAI's ChatGPT, and that's great. But there's a plethora. You've got Bard, you've got Copilot, you've got, and the list can go on and on and on. Gemini, and several others. And so I think that what tech is having a hard time with, and it intersects really why I like what TechPoint is doing, is when you have an innovation gap between technology coming out and the ability for people to adopt it, and it's narrowly impacting training and enablement. We generally think professionally, but I like to think more about our youth, our children, right? Because it's our teachers that are teaching children,
Yeah.
not tech leaders teaching children, right? And so what I have figured out, and I'm sure y'all have figured it out, is kids are incredibly intelligent. And so they get a hold of a technology and they're learning at a rate that is even faster than adults. And so you have this really interesting phenomenon going on right now where we're giving superpowers to young adults uncontrolled, and yet we don't even know yet what that looks like, right? So it's just an interesting trouble that we're having right now, but it's also interesting opportunity that if you can put the right culture around it and the right mentorship around it and harness that, then you could drive focused innovation in markets and really leverage the benefit that I think technology at scale offers. And so that's what I see is it's just rate of release versus rate of adoption has never been more polarizing than it is right now.
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head. You kind of articulate a lot more from an operator perspective in the trenches, but we tend to try to theorize it, but also bring it up to a level of just technology adoption in general, particularly AI adoption. We as a state, as a community, is somewhat lagging from a national and global perspective.
Yeah.
Nobody has that completely figured out. Globally, AI adoption has been plateauing about 50%ish, from talking about at least one demonstrable use cases. With, as to your point, with the generative AI last 18 months, that rate has really pulled up the entire adoption up from a curve perspective. But if you dig a little deeper, most people are still in that figuring out phase, right? Not surprisingly. So how do you drive the parity between user interest versus actually enterprise-wide impact is something that people are curious trying to figure it out, even that included all the training, all of the upscaling, reskilling efforts that need to go hand in hand. But we're still in that, everybody's still in the learning experimenting phase, and most of us. So that's really one of the bigger opportunities in front of us, all of us. And when we say, when we talk about economic development, I like to view it as a more top-down, holistic view. Is really, at the end of the day, for folks to have rising prosperity, getting paid, rising standard of living, getting paid more, your productivity really have to go up. The way for the economic base to grow is really try to three ways to do it. You can either have more people coming into the workforce, or higher labor participation rate, and do everybody become a little more productive. And it's really the third stool, that third leg of the stool, the productivity piece, it has to come up because that's the biggest space that we currently have. Indiana traditionally, from a productivity point of view, particularly around advanced industries, not surprisingly, we're a little bit lagging in terms of the technology investments in the last few years, and not the productivity shows. So we have a tremendous opportunity, particularly around the cutting edge technology right now. It's AI, right? I mean, that's how do we get everybody faster and providing auxiliary supporting enablement and reskilling, upskilling services. So you all can see, including Melissa, in your role to see, wow, you can double the revenue without doubling the headcount. I mean, I've seen some CEOs specifically making that goal as their company objective.
It's an interesting issue right now that companies are. Here's what I like about it. So we always talk about what's dangerous, right? So you'll hear in the last 22 months, you've heard the story of generative AI be polarizing on both fronts. It's either be afraid of it and run away from it because, the Terminator is coming. Or it's the other side of it, which is embrace it, throw caution to the wind, and you're watching incubators and young equity investors throw piles of money at it like the .com days, right? So that's the edges that you see. But in the middle is where this gets really interesting. When you start to look at businesses and say, what's interesting is if I can take a market that was otherwise lagging relative to empowerment, education, and enablement and being able to do it, and I've leveled the playing field, that they have access to technology that can compress learning and help them to accelerate, you could build multiples on productivity in the same fiscal year. So what used to be forecast of next 2 to 3 is next 6 months, right? Like there's so much that you can do when you think about the ability of, think what happened when we went from ask.com to Google. Now I can call ChatGPT within a minute and say, I have a question about this particular topic and I need to do this. Or what did YouTube do from DIY perspective, right? And now you introduce these tool sets done the right way in an organized manner to focus on productivity enhancement. Industries like agriculture and others it's going to be really fascinating to see how they're able to take advantage of this technology and do human augmentation. So it's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and the wonders of technology in my head is also really leveling the playing field to a lot of degree on the knowledge base, right? The as long as folks have the right learning mindset, I mean, it's really no shortage of a way to learn, and it's like even with so that mindset becomes important, and develop the mindset even early on with both the existing workforce, but the early stage learners are important, getting them to the right mindset. That's why part of our strategy really got to reach them in early and get them exposed to potential expanded set of tech careers as early as they're able to, because they're very proficient users, and get them thinking about what does it mean to work at the likes of Otava from a technology. Also, the coolness factor and the
I don't know.
It's
very cool. There's definitely a culture factor to it. So, it's interesting. I know only got a couple more questions for you, but Mo, this is really resonating with an episode we did a while back where you were talking about the shift from university education to skills based, right? Which is reinforcing even in trade industry the opportunity for folks. And you're watching, there's so many more young ones now leaving saying, I don't know that the ROI is there for me to go straight to university when education's just different. The ability for me to compress learning and do it real time, right?
That's right. Yeah, that was an episode on skills first learning or skills first hiring, and that focusing on the skills you need to do the job versus necessarily previous job titles or education. Do you have the skills that we need to perform the duties of the job, and focusing on those and how that broadens your landscape of potential hires. Yeah, that was a good one. I like something you said, Ting, and because I think a lot of folks get worried about AI and they're like, oh, we're going to lose all these jobs. But that approach of let's double revenue with the same headcount, not do the same work with half the people. That's a very empowering view of what AI can bring to businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with even this kind of a good timing for this community, speaking of opportunity ahead of us, almost for some of the talent retention, skill alignment, as I talked about earlier, skill alignment between what employers like you all need from in the field perspective, all the way translating back to the education providers. Indiana right now has a really unfortunate moment in time where, probably for the first time in a long time, our education leaders, I'm talking about primarily major university leaders from Notre Dame, IU, and Purdue and IU in particular, was a new push within the Indy campuses, and as well as the public sector education policy makers are probably very aligned for the first time in a long time to talk about, well, employers, what the employers need, translating skills into the curriculum, even redesigning the high school curriculum to prepare these schools better for what industry is looking for, and having the financial incentives trickling down for the education institution providers to do the right thing for our great state of Indiana. We're at a very unique moment in time where all the stakeholders are aligning along those the same objectives. So I'm very hopeful with this, even during the election year coming up, with this particular next kind of a legislative session, with some of the policy things that's being made and policy changes has taken place in the last couple of years, and will continue to take place in the next year or so, will have a really long-term impact on our talent retention strategy and outcome for the decades to come.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, yeah. We can, as we wrap up here, I just want to make sure there's nothing that I didn't ask that you wish I would have asked that you really want to share about TechPoint.
Thank you. This is great. I mean, you guys, we could not do the work without the supporters and the stakeholders, interested stakeholders like what you're doing, including doing this with us. I'd like to say, sometimes we try to be intentional in terms of offer value add back to our members and partners, but also recognizing what a lot of times we're asking you all to do is, I wouldn't even call it give back to the community. It's probably pay it forward, because you're making an intentional investment with us in the future of our community together, not necessarily in just for what you can get out of our community ecosystem. So I'm super grateful for your support, and I know we could not do the work without your intentionality.
We appreciate you, Ting. Thank you so much. I know, I think if people could really summarize it, like, what's at stake? Like, what are you trying to achieve? What resonated with me in the last quarter's meeting was we focused on, hey, like, we have a target of 42,000 tech jobs, right? With a GDP contribution of north of $60 billion, right? So there's real dollars and real lives at stake with putting this vision together and executing well. And I hope that people understand, that is what TechPoint is driving towards, right? So when you say, like, programs are great, initiatives are great, but outcomes are what people react to, right? And so to achieve those outcomes in that short of period of time, which is forecasted through 27 and 28, I think it's a huge story and a drum that TechPoint should keep banging loudly. So we're incredibly excited to support you in that. And we're really bullish. We've been adding employees and skilled workers in Indiana over the last 12 months, and we're continuing to pursue that. We enjoy Naptown and what we're able to do here. So it's a lot of fun, but we're really excited for the partnership and thankful for your time.
Thank you.
Tell us, before we part ways here, how do folks connect with TechPoint?
Yeah, great question. So our two ways. One, our website. We're trying to make our website the information digital front door to us. So the rich information there from a content storytelling across talent innovation community. And the second way is not our email. We try to be techie, and I can't take credit, but we started this tradition. You always just first name at our techpoint.org. That's our email address, and pretty easy to remember.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for your time today. Very
Thanks, Ting. Enjoyed the time with you
as
always.
Thank you.
All right, Mo. So shout outs. Well, I don't know about you, but here we are 2 full seasons into producing a podcast. And while we've generally stated and more broadly the marketing team, I'm going to shout out Cassidy Davis.
For sure.
And it's hard. I don't think people realize the amount of work that goes into video editing and copy prep and all the stuff that she sacrifices time to do in addition to her day job, because this is certainly not her day job. I think we're very blessed and very fortunate for Cassidy. And so shout out to Cassidy. We're super thankful. By the way, if you get to know Cassidy, she hates attention. So right now she's not very happy, but that's okay. And so we're super thankful for Cassidy. So I think that's our shout out.
Yes.
Today.
She makes us look good.
She does, 100%. All right. Well, so today's topic is networking, and not networking in technology, right? Coincidentally, but people networking, business development. More importantly, I'll call it relationship equity, right? How do you start to cultivate relationship equity that pays dividends? And that's something to really focus in on, because you do that in every area of your life, maybe unintentionally. And Melissa's got some ideas here to help give you some instructions on how to be intentional in that process. But relationship equity pays dividends in, your marriage, raising your children, your friendships, the things that matter, in my opinion, the most, and then your work relationships and your professional and industry, like within the markets themselves. And so when you put all this together, at the end of the day, it's networking, right? That's just relationship development. So at a high level, what are some of the benefits? Well, certainly the more, I said this a couple of times, the places you go, the people that you meet, and the books that you read. Those are how you become the most well-rounded person, and it's what changes you and changes others. And so when you network and you put yourself around more people, you learn that the world is a lot bigger and in some ways smaller at the same exact time than you thought. And so you begin to find there's more people like you in so many ways, and through 2 or 3 degrees of separation, you'd be shocked the more people that you spend time with, how you're connected to others, which makes the world feel so incredibly small, right? Which is neat. But at the same time, it also puts you in a situation where you're in such a diverse pool by intentionally meeting new people and spending time in different atmospheres that you grow as a person. I think that's the indirect benefit of doing networking intentionally and putting yourselves around other people and exposing yourself to others, beliefs and systems and segments, is that you become more well-rounded. So you skill up. You become more cultured, your communication expands, your ability to connect with others expands as a result. So there's, at a high level, I think that's one of the biggest benefits. I think the other one that people undervalue, and professionally we're all stubborn and prideful, is that I hear people say this statement a lot. I actually have a graphic that, thank you, Cassidy, again, that created for me. I need to post. This is, it's only lonely at the top because you didn't bring anybody with you, right? I've heard people make this statement that it's very lonely at the top. No, it's not. There's tougher decisions, that you make at the top that impact a lot of people, and so you got to be very careful about that and mindful. But what I love about the journey of networking as you go through is you build support systems. And the more that you bring people along with you, and the more you get out there and build relationships, the more wisdom that you can go seek when you need it the most. So when you are at the top and you have to make those decisions that have a much larger impact, you have a much broader pool of your inner and outer circles that you can go to and say, hey, help me think about this the right way before I make this decision. Like, what might I be missing, right? So that to me is another area of great benefit. And, that's a support system. That's also mentoring and coaching and development. Those are things that we all need and we benefit from. And I think the last one, I'm not going to state the obvious. The obvious are like, your knowledge insights, your business growth, right? Sure, all that happens. But what you give, you get. And I think that's the biggest thing in networking that people can learn is giving your time, which is the most valuable thing that you have, in service will pay dividends to you in so many ways. And so networking is really a service exercise of, can you go give away knowledge, time, kindness, professionalism, And by doing that in your network and putting that out there, you will get that back. And that will pay dividend in a lot of other ways, including your business growth. But when you go out to try to intentionally grow your business, you're really going out there with an I mindset. I find that you don't get nearly the multiples on momentum that you could get if you're going out to give and make a positive impact. And so those are the big ones that I see, from a networking perspective. But I like going out and meeting people, talking to people. I'm happy to do it. I know not everybody's wired that way. So for my fellow introvert, Mo, why don't you talk a little bit about, okay, where do I start? Like, how do I put together some simple steps to, go and network?
Right, because sometimes when we think of networking, we think of entering a room full of people. Now we have to go make small talk with all these people, and it's very overwhelming. And we have a paper sack that we might need to breathe into in the corner. No, it can be very, it can be very simple. Part of networking is even just staying in contact with those that you know and keeping those relationships going. You touched on that a little bit, but so staying connected and keeping those existing relationships going, even if it's past, employers, but just keep those relationships going. But there's some easy things like industry events, conferences, those kinds of things where you can go and learn more about your own industry and then share your own knowledge. Local chapters, for like example, there's a Michiana Sherm here in the Mishawaka area, and you can join other HR professionals. And I don't know what I don't know because I worked at the same company for so many years. It's a great opportunity just to learn from each other, get ideas from each other. It doesn't have to be so intense like, will you join my network? Can we be friends? Right. It's not like that. It's really just getting ideas and connecting with people and helping each other. Social media, you can connect on LinkedIn. That's a super easy way for those who are uncomfortable with the in-person interaction too. And then workshops, alumni groups, that you've been a part of and joining those, and then even volunteering for nonprofits. So there's lots of opportunities that aren't so terrifying as just thinking about entering a giant room and trying to make friends with those who are there.
Yep, that's right. No, that's great feedback. And I think, the only piece of advice that I would give in this area, because I love people, I really do, is I hear people say to me throughout my life, I'm just not good with people. I hear that a lot. I'm not good with people, or I'm shy, and I'll hear them say in a different context, I'm not a reader. I don't read. And both break my heart, because what I want to say is you read every day and you talk to people every day. And it's important that you understand what you're saying to yourself, because you're always listening. And so you're speaking that over you. And so what I can tell you about networking more than anything else is that it will richly bless you to go out and just put yourself in a position to meet people. Everybody's got a story. Everybody's story matters. And the ability to let that story impact your life will shock you. And you would be surprised the more intentional that you are to just ask somebody how their day is going, or meet and greet, at 15 minutes or 20 minutes here or there, that through 2 or 3 degrees of separation, that conversation that you thought didn't mean anything might open a door for you that you otherwise would have never known, right? And so networking can be fun. It doesn't have to be this big thing. It doesn't have to be formal to most point. It can just be start introducing yourself and getting comfortable with talking to people. And what I will tell you is this, at a minimum, getting yourself uncomfortable to meet and talk to people will turn you into a better human. You will be a better leader in your organizations. You will be a better parent. You'll be a better spouse. Like, it forces you to become better the more that you get to know people, and humbled along the way to realize you're not that big of a deal. There's other people out there that are going through far worse, right? So networking has some unintended benefits that I think are massive. And so go out there and do it. Just talk to people. As you and my wife say, I got two Melissas in my life. That's right. Sweaty pits and all, nervous and all, just go talk to people.
Yeah. And I've never regretted it. That's the thing. It's like you get like, oh, do I really want to go to this event? I might not know anybody. I've never regretted it, and I've always learned something, and can't come away with either a new idea or meeting someone new who I can reach out to with another question or event that I want to take them with me So yeah, I've never regretted it. Just go do it. Just do it.
Yeah, just do it. Just do a decision.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, this was great. I enjoyed this today, and the interview was awesome. And can't believe it's been 24 episodes, 2 full years of doing this, 2 seasons. So
Yeah.
how cool! How cool!
Very cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, so as we bring it in for a landing, this is it. So we are landing the plane, and we get a few months to kind of gear up, organize our 2025 strategic plan together. We do promise that we will be back. We're excited to bring new content, new faces. But we would love for you to like, to share, to subscribe, do all the things because we're really enjoying the opportunity to share this message out there. And so, as we always say, Mo, do a decision.
And network with us. Connect with us.
Yes, please network.
Feedback.
Great.
Yeah.
That's right. Great feedback. Please network with us. Please reach out to us. Give us feedback. Give us recommendations for next season. And we really appreciate it. And we appreciate all the people that have already commented and given us feedback. It's been a blessing for both of us. I'm saying that on behalf of both of us, that we weren't expecting it. So it's been really cool. But thank you so much, and we appreciate it. And we will we'll see you soon. So happy back to school for all the parents. They're kind of getting back in that rhythm of life. And we'll see you soon.